What's up, Ponios? Andy with Andy Vlogs. Excited to share with you guys another tutorial. I kind of have, what do you call a construction thumb right now? There's green thumbs and construction thumbs. Whatever. I'm not a professional. I'm not licensed. I'm not a journeyman anything. I don't really have any qualifications or certifications except for the ability to make videos, right? So isn't that how it always is? Recently, an inspector passed off on all of the changes and all of the updates I did for the basement. So I'm pretty excited. So that's my pedigree right there, guys, right? With that being said, as the title suggests, I'm going to help you guys how to patch a hole, not just a little tiny hole, but a big enough hole that's going to require some joint compound, that's going to require not just some painter's putty to plug up the hole, but it's actually going to require some joint compound and some stratagem in order to be able to tackle the hole and make it look good as new. And so with that being said, we're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to give you a step-by-step process of how I do it. The first thing that you're going to need, obviously, is your joint compound. You can get pre-mixed stuff, which is what I had originally, but I didn't want to go out and buy it because, well, I have this big old chunk right here, this big old guy. This is mixable compound. It's very fibrous, so what you'll need to do is you'll need to figure out the right proportion. Again, I'm not an expert. I just kind of eyeball it here, so as you notice me adding it and mixing it, I'm kind of just gauging how much it should be. But I do know that it needs to be very, very liquidy, but it also needs to be kind of like really, really stringy gack, like goo. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good sealant, and it might ruin your wall. So it's not my fault if you take my word for it. But anyway, this is how I'm doing it. This is my experience. So once you've got that mixed up, you're going to want to cut out a piece big enough size to fit, obviously, where the hole is. Okay, so that's one of the first steps that you're going to need to do. Luckily, I cut out the hole for this here, so I have the other hole. It's right here. You'll notice that there's 3 holes that I actually have to fix. So one or two of the 3 holes I already have the drywall for. I'm gonna have to cut out and size the other hole, the biggest hole, because, well, look, I had to cut quite a bit, and this is actually broken, which won't be very good for installing. So I'm going to be showing you that here. My next step is figuring out the size and length of the backing board. So I'm using this, I think it's 5-ply pine wood, 5-ply wood, and I'm going to be cutting a strip that's probably 2 to 3 inches on each side larger than the width of the actual hole. Okay, so you're going to need to measure that out. It doesn't necessarily need to be the height of it, but the length is what I found is good. Because what we'll be doing is we'll be drilling holes through our sheetrock into this backer board, which is going to give us a foundation in order to set our cut piece of drywall in the hole. There's tons of different methods you can use. You can use, obviously, some putty, really dense joint compound. Some people do it that way to patch it. Some people, do it with like chicken wire. I'm going to do it with this because I found it successful. So with that being said, you're going to need to get these types of screws. I don't know exactly what they're called, but these are very friendly for your drywall. Nextly, you got to install it. Okay, so you install it. What I like to do is I like to do the backer board first, get it in the right spot, make sure you're not too far on each side. You'll notice that on one side here, on this, that I'm pretty close to the 2x4, and so I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do for that.
The moon is bright, let's have some fun.
Once you're done with drilling the hole, then you're going to go ahead and you're going to start measuring and cutting the hole where you're going to place the drywall patch. I figured out really early that the number of the backer boards that I literally cut out was insufficient, so I had to go in and cut like 2 or 3 times more. So for this largest hole, I decided to do it at an angle because I was so close to the frame. I had to have enough clearing in order for me to fit a screw in without ruining the drywall. You do want to give yourself about 1 inch or so from the edge because, if you drill too close, you're going to crack the drywall and it's not going to be secure. Now onto the drywall. So we're gonna have to cut this out by hand, and then we're gonna have to use a drywall saw to be able to shape it into the hole. Once you got the desired length, you want to leave maybe like a 1/16 of an inch in between, just because you want the joint compound to go in between the crack when you set it up. And then you can use 1 to 2 screws to mount it in there. Be careful when you push and drill it in to not push too hard, because you could crack it. You know, this is drywall, it's not wood. Once you've got that all set in, you want to make sure that your screws are, set and drilled into the drywall a tiny bit so that you can cover it with the joint compound, and then jump into the joint compound. I am no professional joint compoundist. I am terrible at this. I've only had experience like 4 times, and so my technique isn't that good, and so it takes me a bit. So enjoy.
This is everything with you right next to me. So alive, and tonight I'm thinking that I don't wanna go.
Obviously, you need the drywall tape, so you're going to want to get that moist, and then you'll want to string it out. You'll put a layer of the joint compound, and then you put the tape on top of it, and then you put a layer of the joint compound on top of that. I like to kind of take my time. I don't like the joint compound to be very, very liquidy when I apply the joint compound after the tape. And so I put the tape up, wait a bit, let that set, push it down, and then put, more joint compound on top of it, just so you can get a semi-settled feel for it. You notice here that I'm struggling a bit with the drywall, because when I drilled in that little drywall piece, I didn't keep it centered, so when the screws went in, it left like a 1/4 inch hole, and so I had to go in and stick some little pieces of drywall and then apply the joint compound. I was able to patch it up nice and then add the tape, and the rest you can see here. Once that's done, you just let it dry. You want to dry it with fans and maybe even like a heater, so that's going to be the next bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's technically the first cut. We're going to do this 2 or 3 more times. Once that's done, don't forget to sand. It's very important that you sand in between each layer. I use like 220 grit. You don't want anything more, because it'll just tear off all the joint compound that you've just put up there. But you want to, obviously form it and sand it. All right, after the 3rd layer dries, then it's basically touch up. You want to sand it again, and now you're going to want to do the painting phase. Unfortunately, I didn't record that portion of this video. That's not really what this tutorial is about. It's more of patching holes, and so I saved you guys the time and the cringe of me painting. I also ran out of paint, and so I was only able to get 1 coat of paint, and then I also ran out of texture, so I wasn't able to get full spread of texture. With that being said, though, it still looks pretty good. In certain light, you can catch where the holes were. From this point of view, you can't really tell the difference. I'm a little disappointed with, the way that it turned out. I'm not the best again, and I feel like I didn't quite hide all my mistakes, but, when you step back, it doesn't look too bad. Other than that, that's kind of my tutorial of how you fix or how you patch drywall. This is very much a DIY. This is my own opinion. This is my own house, and so I'm doing it my method. If I did anything wrong, guys, if you are, a licensed contractor, if you're someone that watched this and aren't impressed, let me know down in the comments down below. I'd appreciate any and all feedback that you have. With that being said, guys, thanks so much for joining. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. Andy with Andy Vlogs signing out.